Now what will it be? Death or exile?
Then you better start swimming or you'll sink like a stone. Or the times they are changing.
You know, it's made these iconic images, riffing off of the iconic images that Zach has made. And he mentioned RT Snyder Cut, which is an account on Twitter, and that's something that, you know, we haven't talked much about. It's been a very, very instrumental account and tool to bring all of us under the same umbrella, working towards the same goal. One of the most difficult things for mass movements to do is to all sort of agree. You know, it's something that you see play out even in films, you know, when there's like an army and, you know, they're going against like an opponent and all the houses meet and they're like, all right, let's do one thing. And everybody's like, no,
we should do it this way. We should do it this way.
Yeah. But what RT Snyder Cut, the account, has been able to do is bring all the houses, so to speak, under one banner, and they've been really good. They update people a lot. They do all these incredible events. So that Twitter account really came in at a very important time and has remained very strong and very, very passionate, and it's really, you know, running with the campaign and running the campaign like really, really, really well. And it kind of ties into, you know, the function of the ForSnyderCut.com website in terms of, you know, bringing a lot of people, you know, to one place, and sort of that unity is very, very, very important.
Absolutely. And still, like, ForSnyderCut has such a valuable role as well in this, because you can post long form articles there and we can post our images there, and the images is kind of what I wanted to get onto next, because, you know, you have all of this content. So screenshots from Zack Snyder's storyboards, you've got artists like Jay Oliva sharing things, you've got Fabian Wagner, who was the cinematographer on the film, sharing other things, and you've got concept artists, you know, set designers, and all of this is all over the place. And it's tying back into what we were saying before, like, how does someone new find all the information? And I'd like to introduce at this moment someone who has been helping me invaluably with the maintenance of ForSnyderCut, especially in the creation of these new pages that have been add-ons and updating everyone with news. What he's done has been truly incredible, and he's put so much hard work in there. He also is responsible for the new newsletter that's been going around to everybody. So without further ado, here's my interview with Matt. Yes, everybody, I'm here with the crazy Zach Hugger, the one and only, Matt, who is now in Australia. How are you?
I'm fine. Thank you, Chris. Thank you for having me.
So we are here as a 2-year celebration of the movement of the Snyder Cut fandom. And I'm here to highlight some of the important things that people like you have done to get us to the position we are now. And we couldn't have done this, achieved this without people like you. So tell us how you got involved with this whole thing. How did the Snyder capture you?
I'm telling you, Chris, it's like freaking crazy. I think like many of us had the same experience coming out the theater and just being like, I don't know, just like being shocked and depressed. And like the more I read about it online, the more depressed I got. So I was just like, what is going on? And then, you know, it came out the petition, and I saw people on Twitter talking about it and like bring out all these things. And amidst everything, there's this person called, like, you know, Fiona, and like I was just like following her, So that was the state that I was in. I was just following Fiona and just like retweeting and commenting, and it was like that for many months.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
you mentioned the petition. I think 180,000 plus signatures on that petition. It's truly incredible what we achieved in those very early days.
It's crazy. Yeah, I brought in like I got a few friends to sign it. I'm like, please sign it. I don't care you haven't watched it yet. Please sign it. Yeah.
I
And
was like that as well.
yeah. I was obsessed with it. I probably checked it like 50 times a day. It was crazy back
you
then.
and me both. You and me both. So tell us about your early role in the movement. How this energy from the fandom and all these petitions and the online tweets and everything. How did that manifest into your action? What did that drive you to do?
Right. So I'm gonna be really honest with you, because it's like everyone's just like, so many things are happening on Twitter, and me, I just joined. I'm like, I have no idea what's going on. So I see this girl Fiona, and she obviously talked to Zach a lot, and like so many people are following her, and like so much of the action is centered around her. So I'm like, I gotta follow her. I gotta like comment and tweet and retweet whatever she's saying, because number one, she has a source, you know, the source.
Yeah.
And number two, that's where the action is. So I was just I felt like I was just way on the outskirts. Like I have no idea what's going on. I have no idea. I have no way to reach Fiona. Like hundreds of people message Fiona. Why me? There's nothing like, you know, important or interesting about me. Why should she notice me? You know, that's how it was in the beginning, to be honest. So and this was like pretty much an accident, but I noticed when one of the things that a lot of people were doing was they were watching BvS and they were saying, oh, I noticed this interesting thing in BvS. Oh, I noticed that interesting thing. And there were just a lot of it, and from so many people, because all these Easter eggs and all these like very deep references, it's a celebration of Zack Snyder's work. It really is a celebration, because it has so many links to politics and ancient like philosophy and art, or just so many references everywhere. And I was like, I wanted to collect it all together to show like the brilliance of Zack Snyder. Like, if you want to talk about how brilliant his movie is, and what better way to show it through all the things that the fans have discovered, and show them like, here's who we are fans of Zack Snyder, these are the things that we have found, and also show like, this is Zack Snyder's work. It is amazing. And so I started collecting that, and I collected it and made it into a little timeline, and I put it out there, and I told Fiona about it, and she was like, wow, this is amazing.
Yeah, and then she transformed it into something incredible, didn't she? Into what we now know as BvS Reference.
Yes, that's right. She suddenly took that idea, and she was like, I want to get Zack Snyder himself involved, and he became like, because he's the one that was like, yes, I did put in the Easter egg. He can confirm it and be like, that's a very good catch, and yeah, that's what became the contest.
And Chris Terrio got involved, and they picked their favorite ones, and then they handed out really amazing gift packages to some of the winners around the world, and that's just testament to Zach, Chris, to Fiona, and all the fantastic stuff they did. And actually, for anyone who's still interested to see some of the references, there's a Vero account called BvS Reference that you can all check out now, and I'll put a link in the description for you to access that from your web browser. And yeah, it's a brilliant tool, and I think the best way for us to increase awareness of Zach's fantastic work, and thereby help the release of the Snyder Cut, is to celebrate and highlight his great achievements. And BvS Reference was a really, really powerful tool for that. Then you then went on to do some other things, right? Fiona asked you to get more involved in some other ideas. What were some of those things?
So she had this idea for a website because she was like, okay, so if the contest is done and done with, like, that's the end of the contest itself, but she wanted people to keep on submitting their references, and she wanted a website to collect all of these references, and people could comment and just like keep on building on that. So I was working on like a website that could allow people to do that. So it's called menarestillgood.net. So that website didn't get launched. As of now, it still didn't get launched, but I was working on that. And Fiona did like mention me 1 or 2 times, and that's actually how I got in touch with you, Chris.
As you said, you have experience of making websites and stuff, and we kind of got together with Fiona with an idea of how to get more people involved and pass control on to members of the fandom. So we were dabbling around with an idea for a website where anybody could submit an idea for a campaign, and it would be generated through the website, and everybody who was following the website could be updated, and anybody could submit a campaign idea. Now that website's kind of in the end stages now, and we might launch it in 2020 or something. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right.
So hopefully that will be an additional tool. Hopefully we'll get the film before then.
That's happy. That'll be a very happy thing.
Yeah. But if not, we hopefully that will give more power for more people to feel a sense of ownership in the movement. So and that's how we got introduced, and since then we have actually been working together on other things like the ForSnyderCut. So basically you're the website man, right? You're the technical expert. So anything that I want to do with ForSnyderCut or kind of push it along, you're the first person I come to. And we actually made the JL Justice League artist page. So we wanted a way to kind of collect all the art that came out from this film, that has been leaked from this film and Zach has shared, so that anybody wondering about the Snyder Cut without being like very involved in the movement could find one location where all of this art is held. And I had a few ideas of how to do it, but I have absolutely no clue of how to implement it. So I came to you and you worked your magic.
Yeah, thanks. This is a little bit of a secret, sort of a confession.
Go on.
My confession is my website skills were not that good at first. When Fiona came to me and Fiona was like, could you help me build a website? I had no clue how to do that. I could build very simple websites, but I think Fiona inspired me to just go and like make myself more useful,
Well, that's the same with me with video editing, and I've with some of the little clips that we've put together for the music video or for the video campaign. This time last year, I'd never picked up a video editor, but you feel inspired by the fandom to learn new things and be productive, and this is new territory for everybody, right?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
So that's brilliant. That's brilliant, Matt. And yes, so you helped create this beautiful JL artist page, which you can access. It's on the top right hand corner of the ForSnyderCut website, and it has all the art from Zack Snyder, from Fabian Wagner, from behind the scenes that come from his Instagram. Others as well, like Christian Lawrence Schurer.
And we had some concept art from Gerard Morans.
Yeah, he did the Steppenwolf ones, and then there's Konstantin Sekaris, and who's done some wonderful Aquaman and Volko art. Martinez, Vias, there's just so many. They've shared all this work on their own websites or on their social media accounts, and this is a great way to kind of collect it all, but we've also added the sources of their work, so they all get their their due recognition, right?
Yeah. So a lot of this website is also a celebration of the hard work that these people put in, and we don't get to see a lot of their hard work in the theatrical version of the Justice League. So this is like a way to make it known to more people.
Yeah, and we'll put a link to that in the description section below. So yeah, we can't really end this without discussing your crazy your crazy hug at the SnyderCon, which actually are two of the most amazing pictures I've ever seen. It's like Renaissance art.
Oh yeah, that's nice of you. I thought it was kind of like I didn't know that this is gonna be like a picture put on the internet. I mean, I put it there, but it's still kind of like shocking to me. Yeah,
it's brilliant. I think it's probably the single most enjoyable photograph from that whole event. It's just the joy of it's just the pure unbridled joy of a fan seeing a hero for the first time, and that hero being as cool as he is. I probably would have wanted to do the same. I don't know if I would have had the guts, but you, man, you lived all of our dreams. So tell us about SnyderCon and how the whole came about.
Oh man, I actually took out a loan to go to SnyderCon. And I was like, I just gotta go. I'm just gonna take the money and hop on the plane. It was about 24 hours on the plane ride to get there, 27 hours on the plane ride to get back. Wow. But it's like, you know what, screw this, I'm gonna go. So this thing happened at SnyderCon. And basically we had, on the third day, we were watching Batman versus Superman. And that's what so many people came there for. And it was very amazing. It was electrifying. And throughout the whole thing, again, it was a celebration of this movie. It was a celebration of Zack Snyder's hard work. And amidst all the negativity that's been thrown at this movie, I think that everyone that was there at SnyderCon just made it a way to just celebrate Zack Snyder. And what happened was that when Superman came into the scene for the first time, there was this guy that stood out and shouted, "That's my Superman!" and amazing. And then this kept on going on. And when Batman came in, and someone's like, "That's my Batman!" That's my Wonder Woman. It was That's brilliant. Amazing. And it was like and coming from someone, I've been to the opera, I've been to classical music concerts. It was almost like that kind of energy, because at the end of every major scene we would applaud. It was crazy.
And what an experience.
At the end of everything, there was a standing ovation.
What an experience that must have been.
And the thing that shocked me the most was when Deborah Snyder actually said this. Thank you for that. And Zack really needed to hear that. And that honestly broke my heart. I'm like, how can Zack Snyder think that his work isn't a masterpiece? And when she said Zack needed to hear that, I'm like, holy shit.
I think he knows it's a masterpiece. I just think he needed to feel that other people recognize that as well. Yeah. It's definitely a masterpiece.
Yeah.
Not everything is for everybody, but everyone should be able to see and feel the effort that was put into it. So definitely great for him to feel that.
Yeah, and that's what SnyderCon was about to me. It was real people being there and being like, we are real people, and we see the art. We appreciate it, And I think, the whole thing about, Zack Snyder and everything that happened is that you see so many people on the internet who know nothing about Zack Snyder, and they're just saying all the kind of things that they want to say because they heard it from someone, or it's their job to somehow say something negative about him. And it just made me feel like, that's wrong. And I'll get to my point. But basically I wanted to show him the opposite, that there are fans out there that care for him And it's not just words, just people typing on their computer saying, "Oh, Zach, it's great." It's like we are real people too.
Yeah.
And we are real people. And what better way to show that we are real people that support him, that love him, than being there in person and giving him a real hug.
Yeah.
And that's what I did.
And you definitely did that. You did it for all of us.
Oh man.
Well, you met loads of great people there, and I'm sure that anybody who met you and anybody who's had contact with you over these last couple of years will echo my statements that you are one of the nicest, genuine people that I have come across in this movement. You are an unsung hero. Not many people know who you are or what you've done, but I think it's a perfect opportunity for everybody to celebrate you, to celebrate the movement. We couldn't have got this far without people like you who put in the hard work and time and effort to do these things. Some things that have never seen the light of day but are still important. Other things that we rely upon, including you're now working on the ForSnyderCut Newsletter, which is going out periodically, and you're the one behind that. It was your brainchild, and hopefully this can kind of extend to more people, so anybody who gets this this newsletter can share it to their contacts via email as well.
Yeah.
I think it's brilliant, and Matt, honestly, thank you for being such an incredible part of this movement.
No problem. Maybe could you add a link in the description if you want to sign up for the newsletter? We have English, Spanish, and Chinese, and you can sign up. With the link.
We'll definitely do that. All right, Matt. Thank you very much. Thanks for everything you do.
It was really good to hear from Matt. It was really good to hear his contributions and his feelings. It's always good to put a voice.
This boy is the
names.
most positive guy, the most hype guy I've ever spoken to in my life.
It's so good. You hear all these names and you don't hear their voices and you're not really sure what their personalities are because Twitter, you're using avatars, but to be able to put a voice to the avatar is so empowering. And he talked about SnyderCon
and how he grabbed
the crazy Zach Hugger for real. And I just think that was an incredible event that people traveled from far and wide to go to. Zach was able to reconnect with his fans and with the community of DCEU fans and Snyder fans.
Definitely. Because, I mean, you heard the sacrifice that Matt gave, like how many hours he traveled and how many thousands
people traveled from out of the country to be there. You know what I'm saying? So for the con, it was like really important because Zach had this tragedy in his life. He had been forced off Justice League, and it felt like he had been separate from the fandom for so long. And him just being there was like, like when couples like remarry, like they've been married and they're like, oh, we're gonna like renew our vows. That's exactly what the SnyderCon felt like to a lot of us. And there's a lot of footage of it out there, and Zach was able to, talk more about, what the cut was supposed to be.
And shout out to Vero as well. Like they were fantastic in sharing it.
Oh my goodness!
Like that, they didn't have to broadcast that to us who were not fortunate enough to go there. But I watched every single night.
Yeah, same. They did an amazing job.
And a lot of our friends were there.
Yeah.
And we were communicating with them.
So that was incredible. And Zach made this shirt for the occasion. It had this like amazing design. Obviously, Zach, so visually it's going to be incredible.
Yeah.
It had a little bit of an Easter egg in it, as usual, as is per Zach. And it was also able to do really well in some charitable work.
Right, so that shirt funded his art centre, which was in dire need of upgrade, and that isn't the first or only shirt that Zach has been responsible for. And what we have now seen with Zach's contributions to the All the Gods famous t-shirt that he released, and and with the SnyderCon t-shirt is him taking this kind of initiative from us and boosting the signal, creating incredible hype, and a lot of this comes down to the work of one Mick D. Here's our interview with Mick.
And I'm delighted now to introduce you all to one of my closest friends in the movement, someone who has been one of the main pillars of this whole thing. We couldn't be where we are today without him. He needs no introduction. He is my friend, my Irish brother, Mick D.
Thank you, Chris. Thanks a million. That's way too much praise for me. But thanks a million. Yeah, no, it's cool to talk to you. It's interesting. People may think that we've, been chatting. We chat a lot sort of online, but this is the first time we've spoken to each other in person.
That's
so
right.
It's a real honor to talk to you. We've worked on a lot of these projects over the last, year, a good year or more. So it's great to chat to you for the first time in person.
Definitely. I want everyone to get to know you as well. Like, you do a lot of work, but you're pretty much behind the scenes. You're not as, let's say, vocal as I am.
There's probably a reason. I tend to ramble a lot. You're probably going to have to edit this down heavily. So yeah, it's not my forte, sort of public speaking. So we'll see what I can do here.
I'm sure it'll be brilliant, and I know everyone will love to hear from you. So why don't we kick off with how you got involved in all of this, and how you first started hearing about the possibility of a different version, and give me your history with the movement.
Yeah, no problem. So like my time sort of I'm on Twitter and I'm on Vero, and I was on Twitter first, and I got on there only really as a result of the backlash to BvS. So I didn't have a Twitter presence, but I was kind of one of those people. I think there's a lot of us in this situation where we've been fans of Zack for years. We watched his movies, we enjoyed his works, and Batman v Superman came out and something sort of changed. There was a kind of an atmosphere, or like a prevailing wisdom or something out there, where this movie was like the worst movie of all time. And I can even understand if people didn't like it, but the extent to which it was pilloried was just sort of weird. And then,
it was vitriolic. It was very strange. I don't think I've ever seen a film being attacked so much. And to be honest, I've seen like horrible films, poorly made films that have not been attacked like this. So it's very strange.
It was vitriol, and it seemed to me to be sort of coordinated in a way as well. I'm not like, it's not like a sort of a conspiracy theory thing, but it did seem to be like this was people went out of their way to go at it in sort of a concerted way. So like, look, look, there was competition going on, we know, in the market. So of course, people then decide like they're going to be tribal one way or the other, and they'll go harder against the people who they don't support. And if you're, I guess, like the DC Marvel divide thing, which I don't really find that interesting, but I think that's where a lot of this came from. But what I found was that I was like, am I the only person who feels this way? So it was then when I sort of went online and I started looking, like I saw reviews, and then you'd read the comments and you'd see, okay, some people in the comments defending, but I eventually started finding sort of people online who shared the same opinion of it as me. And I thought to myself, okay, well, I'm not necessarily alone in this. Like, I love this movie, and especially the directors, the Ultimate Cut when it came out. I think it's a masterpiece. And I found more people who had those opinions. And I think what inspired me to actually start talking about it, because again, I was reading, I wasn't engaged, I wasn't going to go out and go crazy. That just wasn't my thing. But I started following a podcast called Man of Steel Answers.
Yeah, Man of Steel Answers is brilliant podcast, by the way. Shout out to them.
Yeah, that was like my gateway drug sort of into this. And a lot of the insights I had into BvS sort of in my head, and I thought maybe I'm crazy for thinking these things. He expressed similar things, and I thought, more people are looking into these movies a bit more deeply than I had kind of seen, because you didn't see this sort of in the mainstream film journalism, if you want to call it that. Yeah. And so then I started saying, maybe I should actually express myself a bit. So I got on Twitter and I started to posts related to BvS. I might start defending it a bit more, and then as Justice League came in, then as we were coming towards Justice League, obviously I was very excited about that, and we know and the history of when Zach left and everything leading up to it. There was still, I think, within all of us a sort of glimmer of hope that we were going to see his film.
How did you feel beforehand? Were you aware of all of the turmoil behind the scenes, or did you believe the party line was that it was touch-ups, like the finishing of the film and stuff? Because I was like between the two. I knew something was going on, and I also had hope. So where were you about in this kind of balancing act?
You took the words right out of my mouth. That was the change of director. I thought, okay, well, if the film's done and he's just doing the sort of maybe editing or following some sort of a plan, if they were, because I didn't realize if they had a relationship or not. But I thought it was sort of a strange pick, but I thought it was done just for marketing purposes, because we all know that at that stage everybody was crying that there's only one formula, it's the Marvel formula, and that this was sort of like a move to bring in people who were probably going to be averse to Zach's work to come on side. So I thought it was more sort of like a facade. When I heard that score was changed, then I knew that it was actually more material than just like this sort of facade that I'm talking about. But I think we all had this hope, this sort of like we wanted to believe that it would be what we thought it was. And every time Warner Brothers announced with some encouraging news that it would fit the tone, they all kept us in line, I guess. Like they kept the hope alive. But our hope was alive all the way up until the moment when I think we saw the first frame of Henry Cavill. And then I think our hearts sank. In terms of, this is a long way of getting into how did I get into the movement. But at that point in time, I was still then sort of dejected and sort of unhappy with what was given. And I really then felt for everybody involved, for all of the creatives involved. I mean, I was thinking to myself, how could Henry feel about seeing that? And I thought about Zach the most, going, okay, that clearly isn't his film. It looks like they removed the sort of Snyder-esque elements of what we became.
Definitely.
De-Snydered, I guess, became like a verb at that stage. And that's what it seemed like they did. It was deliberate in a lot of cases. So really from the day after the movie was released, everything blew up. Everybody was like, some people thought this was the movie, but a lot of people were like, no, that's not the movie that we were promised. And I very much felt like that from the start. I went to see it again with my kids because I saw a midnight show, and I felt even worse the second time. I thought maybe it was late, maybe I was tired, maybe I didn't have the experience I needed for the mood I was in. I was tired from work or whatever. But
yeah, so it was an immediate feeling that you had.
Exactly, and there was no rescuing it on second viewing. Yeah. It was worse than second viewing. So, and I think on the day after, he made some reference to saying he kind of gave an in or sort of like a reference that there might be something, but he didn't say. But that was the first, sort of spark. And I was already following Fiona at this point in time. We had already followed each other, and I think you probably have a better memory than me as who was the first person to actually post the hashtag Release The Snyder Cut.
Yeah. It's it was Movie Buff, and that was only like, I believe, like a couple of days after the 17th. So it was pretty early on that fans of Zack Snyder realized that this film did not reflect a lot of the things that were in the trailers, and then it became this rallying cry of Release the Snyder Cut. So like was that we believe that with all of the different footage that was in the trailers, and also all of the behind the scenes posts that Zack had been posting in the run up to Justice League. And he also earlier on in the year posted work that he was doing in the studio as well.
Yeah, absolutely. All of the ADR stuff and
with the ADR and all of that. So we had a feeling that there was another version of this film out there which followed Zack's design. And
his son had posted his sort of initial reaction to it, which he took down, I think, a couple of days after. He used the words WB meddling, and then that got taken down. But that was the first ironclad indication that the Snyder family was not happy with this, because we saw the press junkets, we saw what they had to go through in terms of playing the game that Warner Brothers wanted them to play, so that we'd all go see this movie. but that was the first sort of break, and then and I think that was a signal. I think a lot of us read that.
Yeah, and then there was the petition and a lot of articles and stuff. And I think I'd like you to discuss how you became first acquainted with Zach on a more personal level.
Sure, yeah, no problem. So it kind of like that was the one thing I noticed from the Justice League film was that, and I knew it wasn't Zach's, was because it lacked the humanity of his films, and I tried to I had these feelings that I wanted to express about that and my thoughts about his previous two films and how I thought these themes should have transitioned over to Justice League. So I was friends with Fiona and I said to her, like, I've kind of got these things I want to say, and she's like, look, we've got the ForSnyderCut website there. If you want to express yourself, that's the purpose. Let's use this website. So I sat down, and it was, I think, St. Patrick's. It was the day after St. Patrick's Day, so could have been hungover. I could have been super cogent or not very cogent.
An Irishman hungover the day after Patrick's Day.
Maybe I got some. Maybe the juices were flowing, and I wrote this article about. I think I called it "To Be Human," and it's about what I see the DCU as, and it's under Zach anyway.
And by the way, we'll put a link to that article in the description below.
Yeah, because I don't know if I've ever really promoted it. Like, I just wrote it, and I really enjoyed writing it. And I put it down, and it had it to be continued at the end, but I never actually got to continue because I procrastinated too much. But I put that on the webs on the ForSnyderCut, and the next morning I opened the bureau, and there was Zack Snyder, connecting with me. So I was like, whoa. He then obviously had read it, and I assume the beats are, at least my assumptions of what he's trying to say with the film. And I think a lot of us think these things about the ideas that he puts into his films about humanity, and for me, I think a lot of this is about free will, about the most important things about humans, which is our ability to make our decisions for ourselves.
And your relationship has grown with him over time. You've even met him, and we'll discuss your experience with him at the Director's Cut event in a minute. But what really you're most well known for within the movement is your work on the T-shirts, and we'll eventually get into how Zach got involved with you on work on these T-shirts, which are an incredible initiative to raise money for a very worthwhile charity. I would wonder if you would like to let the people know a little bit about the background of that.
Sure, no problem. So the AFSP stuff. So I covered a lot of this in the article I wrote recently for AFSP as to sort of where it went back to.
And we'll link that in the description as well.
Yeah, so Zach obviously advocated for this organization in the wake of his family tragedy, and the movement itself had engaged in a few sort of, we're obviously supporting him personally, making donations in Autumn's name, and when the DVD or when the Blu-ray was supposed to release, we all kind of had a bit of hope at that time that maybe there'd be an ultimate edition type thing. We were very naive back then, but when it came out, it was sort of a clear at the time that Warner Brothers took advantage of that period of time to drop some Superman stuff and make people buy the Blu-ray. I never did. I never bought it myself. I saw those scenes online, and I knew there was nothing else on the disc. Yeah. So I said to myself, I'm not paying them for this. I'd rather donate my money to something that would be more worthwhile. So I decided to donate it to the AFSP, and I spoke to Fiona. I said, let's suggest that people are feeling this way to put their money towards something more worthwhile, and that kind of spun up a justice sort of pledge hashtag that we created. So that was the first time I sort of involved myself in that side of the charity thing with regard to that organization. Anyway, and it was later on then when it came to San Diego Comic-Con that we were all again sort of naively hoping that Zach would show up.
And this is the 2018 San Diego Comic-Con.
Exactly, because he hadn't been at 2017. And at 2017, he was represented in sort of spirit and in the heart of the literal and figurative heart of Ray Fisher, who ripped open his shirt, and we saw the I Love Zack Snyder shirt. Yeah. And I had spoken to a group of friends of ours. We call ourselves Team TPZ. we've been talking with Fiona, and we were saying, what can we do about San Diego Comic-Con? We don't know if Zach's going to be there or not. There was all this teasing whether he'd be there or not. We said, look, it doesn't matter whether he's there or not. We're going to make sure he feels the love at San Diego Comic-Con, whether he's there or not. So the idea was to the Ray Fisher thing in my head. I thought, what would happen if, like, he's either there or he's not there, but there's a sea of people wearing that shirt, like just solidarity with Zack Snyder, people wearing the I Heart Zeta shirt. And this was maybe 2 or 3 weeks before the con. So I reached out to some people to say, hey, look, Andy, who's going to go to the San Diego Comic-Con? And we found the Nerd Queens. And I was like, here's this crazy idea. We're going to, like, just put our own money into this. We're going to, like, there's maybe 8 or 9 of us, and we're going to put, like, a few €100, dollars, whatever in each. We're going to buy a whole load of T-shirts and just give them out for free at San Diego Comic-Con. Do you want to be involved in this? And they were like, yeah, we can do that. And I have to say, they were amazing. They, like, logistically, like, got this all going. They handled nearly all of the aspects of this. We just basically threw money into their PayPal account and this materialized. And it was an amazing sort of symbol. And we had posted about it on Bureau. Zach saw it. I hope he felt the love from it. I'm sure he did. That was the sort of genesis of using T-shirts as a mechanism to raise money for charity.
And since then, you've designed a bunch of them, haven't you? Do you want to go through some of them?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Well, so the first one was designed by Ray Fisher, so we'll have to give him credit for that. The very first one was like we decided let's if people were like, how can I get this T-shirt? They were given away for free, and we were like, okay, well, we can't keep giving people stuff for free. So we found this website. The Nerd Queens found it, inktothepeople.com. They let you put up the design, and a portion goes to charity. And we said, let's do the Ray Fisher shirt. Everybody wants it, so we did that shirt, and that was really successful. And then we afterwards said, well, let's do a series of these. Let's bring in artists from the community. And obviously, we spoke to Ramesh, and we asked Ramesh would be interested in designing a shirt, and he did. And we wanted the theme of these shirts to be to inspire hope, and also to represent sort of the movement in a way and what we're about. So the first one was Superman. And it said "Hope lives," and he's carrying him. It's meant to be Lois Lane, and so he designed that. That was good. And then we're good friends with Fiona, and we know that she went through a hard time in the middle of
the latest stage of 2018,
2018, and so I wanted to honor her. And Zach said to her she was powerful in anything, and she's used that as sort of her bio in a lot of places. So I was still in touch with her, and I said to her, how do you say that in Chinese, by the way? And she's like, and the English Chinese translation being as it is, I don't know if I've told people this, but when you see that shirt, it says powerful in anything, and then there's the Chinese behind it, but it doesn't translate so well. So it says, you can do anything is translation. So you can do anything is what's in Chinese behind that in Mandarin. And but it's a cool shirt, and I actually ran that shirt by Zach because we'd had the connection, and he was like, that's awesome, I'm totally going to buy that shirt. And he has 2 of them. So that was that shirt. And then after that we then tried to honor like the Spartans. So we've got so many people had come in and wanted to start taking part in raising awareness and initiatives and supporting Zach, and the movement had really, really grown at this point, and the name Spartans had taken off. So Ramesh again designed a new one called Snyder Spartans, which was a really cool design. And then so All the Gods happened then as well.
So all of these T-shirts, all the profits raised go to the AFSP, the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, and we're going to have a link in the description below to, if you want to donate to the AFSP, click on that link and give a donation there. Everything helps.
Absolutely, and there's still shirts available. The Comic-Con shirts, especially the New York one, because the New York one it has the New York style logo, but it's a Release the Snyder Cut shirt, and it's not necessarily sort of contemporaneously tied to any event. If you wear that shirt, it's not like, oh, that only applies to July of 2019 or whatever, October of 2019. That's a shirt that everybody's asking for. So we're going to keep that one open for as long as anybody wants shirts. That's going to be open.
Brilliant. And then Zach got involved himself, right?
Yeah, he did. So, funnily enough, this is probably the first time I've said this publicly, but so Zach knew about this stuff from the start, because before I did any of the shirts, I said to Zach, look, this is an idea I'm gonna do for like a shirt, and I just want to make sure, some things I'm like, I don't know whether this is something we should do or whatever, And he was like, no, this is a cool idea, and he's like, I could make a shirt. I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, no, I could design this cool shirt about, I'm not going to say the words he used but I knew it was going to be Justice League related. I was like, holy shit. This is going to be like great. I was like, you do know this is going to explode. Like we've made like a couple of grand off a couple of t-shirts, but if you release a shirt and it's an exclusive Zack Snyder shirt, this is going to be crazy. I initially thought it was going to be a simplified thing representing the films, but what he dropped, I had I was not prepared for the level of amazing detail and symbolism in that shirt. And that's going to be a thing of legend. This shirt's going to live on. And I know yourself, you guys did a whole analysis.
The second we saw that picture, we just knew we had to write something about this thing, because it was stacked with symbolism, like going from from the Tree of Life, Masonic imagery. There was just so much in there, and it was stunning. And how much money did that particular shirt raise? I think it was in the high thousands, right?
Yeah, in its lifetime run. So it was released, and then I said to him, hey, can we release this again? Because people keep asking for it. It had like a timed release. It got up to like $83,000. Incredible. It's now open. If anybody wants to get it silently, it's been sort of reopened.
Yeah.
So not making a big deal of it, but if anybody wants it, it's fully available there. So the numbers can keep ticking up. It's not being tracked the same way anymore on the website because they kind of reset it. But it's beyond probably 85,000 now, but it's hard to track. I could contact into the people and they could give you the numbers, but it's sort of in the astronomical numbers now, where even a $1,000 or $2,000 increase is a small percentage of the huge amount that it's raised so far.
Incredible. Yeah. And I think you gave Zach the t-shirt bug, because not a few weeks later he took this initiative on board and helped fund his art school, right, with another brilliant design.
But another t-shirt, and that was another amazing design.
And speaking of the art center, that's where you went and had that experience, and you met him, and you attended 3 screenings of Zack Snyder Director's Cuts.
Yeah, right? I went to all 3, and I had I'd spoken to Zack beforehand, and said I was going to go, and he was like, can't wait to meet you. And I went to there was a reception the first night, myself and my brother-in-law. He's like a huge Zack Snyder fan, But like I said, there's a group of guys who we chat on Bureau and off Bureau, who become really good close friends. We arranged to have coffee. He said, I got a message one morning from him saying, like, meeting for coffee on Saturday, and I was looking at it going, what? So I was like, yeah, of course,
brilliant.
Why not? Yeah, it's cool.
Brilliant.
And we met and we sat and we just hung out and we just kind of shot the shit with him. It was really lovely, relaxing time we got like like he's got so many funny stories about like how he's kind of sometimes seen and movies, the movies he's worked on in the past and the actors and stuff, and some of the work that his son's doing. So it was a really, really nice time sitting there chatting.
Brilliant. So what you're saying is never meet your heroes unless your hero is Zack Snyder.
Zack Snyder. That's exactly it. There is, he's. You can kind of tell that he's not a Hollywood sort of guy. He's like any of us, and he's like his job is that he directs badass films, and he's a tremendous artist and just like a really, really nice person.
Excellent. So let's close this out with, what does the movement mean to you? Talk about what the fight for this film has brought into your life. What are your hopes going forward, and if you believe that we will win this fight?
I 100% believe we will win this fight. I think it's a matter of time. I don't know when that time will be, but I have no doubt that we will see Zack's vision. I think he appreciates all of the support that fans have given him in regards to personal support and comfort, and in his professional life, because this film, I'm sure, was a huge passion project of his, and for it to be realised and for that to be even partly enabled by the support of fans is something I think he really appreciates. And I think, it's clear from the way he engages and from the way he shares things from the film, he wants this film released. And I think he's probably as dedicated to it as we are. I think we'll see the film. I think he wants everyone to see the film, and I think for he obviously cares that the fans see it. He obviously cares for himself to have his own work done, but I think he cares an awful lot about all of the people who deserve to have their hard work recognized. We all want to see it. Yeah, it's about us. Yeah, it's about Zach, but it's about all of those guys who worked so hard on the movie, and I think we should really advocate for those guys, and we should try and inspire as many people as possible to take whatever sort of promotional or activist activities. Every small little sign that gets held up at a Comic-Con, but we should be talking about the people who deserve justice in this movie, and that's everybody who worked on it.
Excellent. Shout out for the unsung heroes there.
And I think we continue to do what we're doing. I think we'll succeed in a lot of ways. We'll hopefully get this film released. But beyond the film, I don't think we stop. I think as a movement, we like as friendships, some of these friendships are going to endure forever. And the things that we fight for, the causes that we fight for, that's a fight that never stops. That's the good fight that goes on forever. And it's sort of like there's always going to be people who need help. So, and that's, I guess, like sort of the theme of it as well, inspiring people to act and inspire other people to act to help other people. So.
Well said. And I know that you've inspired a lot of people to do a lot of good, to help other human beings, to help a fellow man, and you should be very proud of that. I know you probably think that anyone would do this, but you are special. You are valued. I know I can speak on behalf of everyone in the movement to say a big thank you to you, to all the people involved in all of the hard work that gets done behind the scenes, and everyone is going to be really, really happy to hear this segment and hear what you've had to say.
Yeah, I kind of just want to say thanks to everybody who's actually taken part in any of these things. There's a lot of people who are organising these events. You're a huge part of this as well yourself. I know the amount of hours you've put into helping with some of these events, and like the Times Square event, which has been a huge, like that one has been probably just in terms of idea and cost and everything else. That one has been hugely impactful, and I know you've been involved in a lot of other things. But everybody who's given $1, everybody who's even liked or shared, like you don't have to spend hours at this stuff. Anybody who just goes to a convention and holds up a sign, or anybody who retweets, one of the things that we're doing, the smallest contributions, every single one of these contributions builds up to everything that's been achieved. So there's so many people, I think, so many heroes involved in this, and I think we should, and I would like to find some way to recognize absolutely everybody who supported the Release The Snyder Cut movement and the AFSP stuff.
Well said.
So yeah, listen, thanks a million for having me on, Chris. It's been a pleasure to talk to you. It's great. I hope actually we talk to each other again more often in person like this. And I just want to say thanks again to everybody who supports everything. And look, we just got to keep doing everything we're doing right now. We don't need to change anything up. Let's just keep pushing forward and fight the good fight.
I think it's just incredible to hear that interview and to hear Mick with his Irish accent
Don't do it.
speak,
I'm cringing.
about all the gods t-shirt, that initiative, how that the genesis of that epic, like that's going to live on forever. And the film Exiles did an amazing in-depth expose on it, and we just got to give a shout out to Adrian, who's at Truth, Love, Faith on Twitter. She was so helpful. She has a great mind for that sort of analysis of symbolism and mythological artifacts and messaging, that kind of thing. And that's how she became one of the film Exiles.
Absolutely.
That was like her initiation process.
Yep, definitely. And we were up all night when that T-shirt dropped.
Yeah, I remember the group chat was just on fire.
How it happened was we initially just started talking about it in the chat, and the more we talked about it, and people were like, what about this? And others were, what about that? And then there's this, and then there's that. And then I thought, okay, stop. We have to do something with this. So we opened a Google Doc, and there was like 10 of us in there, all of us adding our little contribution. So we kind of split up the image into quadrants and different little teams working on different areas, trying to do their investigation. And then we had Adrian and I was chatting with her in a private conversation separate from that, and we were talking about the overall image. And that's where she came up with the Kabbalah Tree of Life and the Masonic imagery. And I went to bed at like 6 a.m. or something, and then I woke up at 10, and I'd seen people were still in there working on it. And then we kind of worked through it all through that day. And when we finally got it out, we were very proud. It was one of the proudest moments I've had working in a team environment. It was truly, truly great.
And that's a perfect segue into the next interview, which is with a film exile as well, James. Incredible James. James is such a passionate, mature person in this movement. He's a great influence. He's a lot more behind the scenes in terms of the work he does, but he's a very vocal and very steadfast Snyder defender. Do not bring your nonsense into his mentions or else it's going to come for you. And he's the one who broke the news.
The big news
of reporter as Darkseid. He did some sleuthing and some, reporter work, like he was like Lois Lane, that even other journalists, couldn't do. And that's like really impressive. And tell us about the day that, he told you. What was that like to discover this?
So we were just in a little DM with Manu and James, and he's like, yo guys, I went to SnyderCut, but I found this thing out. And we had done a podcast on the events of SnyderCon, but he didn't want to give this information because he didn't know if it was proper or if he was allowed. So as you will hear in this interview, we discuss how the story came about and how we kind of blew the door off the hinges.
And now I'm delighted to be joined by my fellow film exile, the one who blew the doors off this whole thing with his incredible reveal that not only was Darkseid in the film, not only was he acted by someone, but he also got the name of that actor, Ray Porter, and that fellow exile of mine is none other than James. James, how you doing, man?
I'm not too bad, Chris. Thanks for having me.
All right, so let's get to it. Everyone wants to know how you got this news. How did you manage to get this incredible news that really blew the hinges off the door? That everyone kind of got a big boost of hope and belief that something could happen.
No, absolutely. To be quite honest, it's probably the most expensive scoop that that I think we got, because I'm in Canada on the East Coast, and I got the scoop when I attended the SnyderCon back in March of this year, right? So with the tickets to the SnyderCon were 300 American plus airfare plus Airbnb and a vehicle and food and everything, came up to almost $2,000, a $2,000 scoop if we want to talk about it. But But yeah, I attended all 3 nights of the Snyder Con. I met with Zach, Debbie, Larry Fong, um, who else? Richard Citrone, who's Ben
Yes.
Affleck's stunt double in
Tim
BvS.
Caro as well was there.
Yeah, he was there as well. I actually got to talk a lot with him. Yeah, they all ended up signing a poster that I got there, so that's hanging proudly on my wall.
Oh, we need to get a picture of that. Put it on the video.
Absolutely, I'll get that. and so basically, just at the 3-day event, it wasn't just sort of, you know, when you go to a Comic-Con and you get to meet a celebrity. You know, you get to
about 20 seconds.
20 seconds, and they're sort of shuffling you out. But at this event, you know, I got to, you know, I had almost a 20-minute discussion with Debbie. I believe it was on the second night. You know, we were talking and having beers. You know, I got to talk to Zach maybe about 5 minutes each night. You know, on the Friday, the Saturday, and the Sunday, and you know, got to talk to Larry Fong. Got to talk to, you know, Rich, you know, Damon, just everybody. And there's a bunch of people involved in the productions of Zach's movies, from producers, sound editors, just the whole gamut. And one of the questions that I just wanted to know, because we had been hearing rumblings that, you know, Darkseid was in the movie, and I was under the impression that Darkseid may have just been sort of a shadowy figure in the background, maybe at the very ending.
I mean,
right?
the only thing that we had got to that point was the
mural on the wall. The
mural on the wall, but also the storyboard that had leaked to ForSnyderCut back in the early days.
Absolutely. And you know what? Just speaking about the mural on the wall that we know Gal is looking at. Yeah, I'm 100% convinced. Now, I think this is my own personal theory, but when Gal's mother, or Diana's mother, shoots the arrow into the Temple of Athena, you know, the flame is what sort of signals to Gal that there's an invasion coming. But I think what really happened is, sure, it sort of gives her the heads up, but I think that flame burnt down a sort of the paint or whatever it is that was on the wall, and really revealed the history, right? And that's where Darkseid's mural showed up, and the mother boxes, because how would we as human beings not know about this if it's in such a public temple, right? So I think that arrow and the fire was supposed to sort of reveal the truth to humanity as to what happened, and that's the Darkseid reveal, right? Something along those lines. So I'm sure that flame reveals the Darkseid secret. But just going back to how I got the scoop, like I said, I was just under the impression, we had heard that, you know, at the end they sort of look up a boom tube, and at this point, you know, we're not sure what Steppenwolf's fate is, but at the end we look up the boom tube and we would see Darkseid, and that would be it. That was my impression of how much Darkseid we would get in the film. Yeah. So when on the third night during the BvS screening, I asked one of the crew members who worked on the film if in fact somebody had been cast as Darkseid, and I was told yes. Was an actor, and I asked if I could know who it was, and without hesitation, I was told it was Ray Porter. I said, "Okay."
At which point you said,
I literally said, "Who?" I'm a huge cinephile, and I was completely unfamiliar with Ray Porter. Yeah. And the funny thing is, I had seen him in stuff before. You know, I'm a Sons of Anarchy fan, and you know, he in one of the episodes he has a bit of a sizable role, and it's not like in the background or anything. You know, he and a bunch of buddies are stealing medicine from this lady who's, you know, selling medicine under the table because of, you know, whatever reasons it is, you know, expensive medicine in the US, right? People not being able to afford proper healthcare. Right. So he's in a full scene there trying to rob this lady. He's got a shotgun and and he's swearing, and I did a rewatch of Sons of Anarchy just recently, and when he pops up, I filmed it on my phone, posted it. I'm like, there's our boy Ray. There's Darkseid with a shotgun, fighting the Sons of Anarchy. But at that point, I was just like, okay, that's interesting. And I went on Google and I typed his name, and I had actually misheard the name just slightly. Like, I thought it was Roy Porter,
Right.
and I was looking around.
I remember when we were talking, because you told me like a couple of days before in the chat, and I think we were trying to nail it down, weren't we?
Exactly. So we were looking, and we're just like, Roy Porter, and it's like, oh, geez, this is not making any sense. And then I was like, oh, well, there's a Ray Porter, and from what I can tell on Wiki and biography or whatever, his specialty is voice acting.
Yep.
And there's no way that Darkseid wouldn't be sort of a CG motion captured sort of performance, which would rely mostly on a vocal performance. Obviously, there's a physical aspect to it, right? Because when you're doing motion capture, the camera, like 1 inch from the person's face with 100 dots on their face, and it's still very physical. Yeah. But the voice is key, especially with Darkseid, right? We've had people like Michael Ironside, I believe Keith David, these people with these very baritone sort of voice, right? Yeah. These deep, intimidating voice. Even Andre Bauer from Brooklyn Nine-Nine, the captain, right? So you have this great legacy of voice actors doing Darkseid, and all of a sudden we got this actor, Ray Porter, and his specialty is specifically voice acting. So I left SnyderCon, came home, and I sort of sat on the news for a few days, and then I went in the chat and I said, hey guys, I got a bit of a scoop here. And you guys, okay, what is it? And then I told you guys what it was, and then everybody was like, fuck off. Yeah. You can beep it out if you want, but everybody's like, fuck off. As if you got this. Yeah. And my concern initially was I was sitting on it because I didn't want the person involved in the production
to get in trouble.
To get in trouble, right? As we know, there's a million NDAs, there's a million rules, there's a million secrets, but it was sort of, I guess you were saying, can I please check it out to see if I can get this information released, like if we can break this story publicly. Yeah. Right? And you went through your channels. And
we got the permission to do so, and that's when we released it.
We didn't just want to come out with like a one-liner saying, oh, this is our scoop. We wanted to come in with something a little bit official, some meat to the bone, on the bone, right?
Yeah.
So
we recorded our podcast. We wrote our article with Manu.
Did Ramesh make some posters?
Yeah, he made some kind of
Photoshop stuff.
Yeah. And then we
dropped it. Well, we did a little bit of a countdown. Yeah, right?
A little teaser.
And we're a little teaser, and people were saying. Initially, I said, I think I remember I said, I got big Snyder Cut news, the biggest news yet. Yeah. And then everybody thought it was that we had a release date, and specifically in that thing, I said it is not a Snyder Cut release date. Yeah. And people would still ask, is it the Snyder Cut release date? I was like, did you bother reading the tweet? It literally says it is not the Snyder Cut release date.
It puts a lot of pressure on you, though, right? Like
it does, because I didn't want this scoop to fall flat.
Yeah. It had to have an impact to help us.
Exactly. And so then we did a little bit of a countdown, and it was like, oh man, this hype, you've built up so much hype, because I think we did a countdown over the weekend. And I think we released it on a Monday or something. I can't remember the specifics.
Something like that.
Eventually, I think we had almost built up too much hype, but luckily enough, the news managed to reach the hype. Like it was earned.
Oh, it definitely did that, and like I say, it blew the hinges off the door on this whole thing, because like we've said in the past, the more reveals we get, and the more proof that the film exists, and more proof that we have of how different it is, that increases the likelihood of getting our story to the mainstream, into the mainstream, to the public. And then when demand increases, that's when we can win.
Exactly.
And that made huge waves. Like, I can't even count how many outlets who never talked about the Snyder Cut started talking about it after that reveal, and how many articles there were about Darkseid. And to be fair to those outlets, the vast majority of them credited the Exiles and credited you as well. So it was a big reveal, very big for the movement.
Absolutely. Actually, you know what? I think I got the most retweets, the most replies, like the most notifications on my Twitter. I think the only other time where I had as many, or maybe a bit less, was when I discovered that the Easter egg where Superman throws Batman through the wall, and then it leaves the map of Ontario, because that's where I'm from, right?
So you recognized it.
I recognized it because when you're a little kid, they're like, remember, when you're putting the map together, Ontario is the one that looks like a goldfish. Right? I
see. And that's where the Superman
the creators are from, exactly, Ontario. I had to turn my phone notifications off because for both that specific one and for the Darkseid reveal. But my favorite thing about the Darkseid reveal was still that we did not have an idea about how actually involved Darkseid was in the film. Because I think at that point, I don't think we had made an assumption or knew that Darkseid or Uxas was the actual original protagonist in the history lesson. I think I was under the impression that Darkseid had sent Steppenwolf, and Steppenwolf failed, and so on and so forth. But we did not realize that they completely changed it around, took Darkseid out, and just replaced him with Steppenwolf. So anyways, finally, Zach, remember initially there were people who were basically saying we were full of shit, that Zach wouldn't hire a nobody, Ray, if you're listening to this, you're not a nobody, you're fucking great. But, some people think that if you're not in the mainstream, like, who are you?
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, we initially speculated, like, was this a kind of a role just used for Justice League 1, and then would they hire someone
like the original Avengers
for Justice League 2, like in the Avengers? But I think we pretty much agreed on the original podcast, really, that Zach is pretty selective with his casting, and Zach is an incredible director that casts.
He's very hands-on with the casting. He's very hands-on with the casting.
Absolutely. So that there's no doubt for me that Ray was gonna be in
Justice League 2,
in future Justice League films. Yeah, for sure. And since we have revealed Ray, what a guy!
He's been great.
What an incredible supporter. The person has been everything that you could have dreamed about. This reveal could have been of another actor, and then that actor might have said yes or no, and then it would have just been ignored forever, and they wouldn't have got involved or anything. But this guy has been so supportive, so appreciative of all of our efforts. What a gentleman! Like, honestly, we are so lucky to have found him, the person.
And it was one of those things. The day we broke the news, and then my phone started blowing up, I actually started feeling bad because I thought to myself, I said, "Oh shit!" I said, I didn't think about this actor and his NDAs and like how this might affect him, right?
Yeah.
But then we saw how appreciative he was, and imagine putting in so much work into something, and then it is like you pour your heart and soul into it, and then it is ripped away from you, and no one is ever allowed to know what you did, right?
Yeah,
And
it must be gut wrenching. Must be gut wrenching.
Absolutely, but I was genuinely concerned. I was like, oh fuck, I'm like, am I gonna get this guy in trouble now because you know we dropped this bomb, and you know
he actually tweeted out just right here honoring my NDA.
Exactly. But you know what, when like I said, you went through your channels, right? We run with some of the same channels there, so I'm sure that person who gave us the okay at WB, I'm sure they gave Ray the heads up. Hey, listen, this is gonna happen. Just be prepared for it.
No.
Or do you think this person was like, it's gonna be a complete surprise?
It was a complete surprise.
Oh man, could you imagine just waking up and your cell phone has about 2,000 texts from your agent, your family, your friends, you know, just people, and you know, all of a sudden,
what a thrill, though! What a thrill!
Absolutely, and then he must have gone up a couple of thousand Twitter followers in just a matter of hours.
For sure. And then a few months later, I kind of paid back the scoop. I gave you a little bit of a heads up a few days before I found out something, which was the Peter Guinness casting for Darkseid.
Darkseid, yeah.
And so now, like when you revealed Darkseid to me, it was like, okay, you owe me one, and now we're equal.
Well, absolutely, but I there's still a third member of the family that I am. It hasn't been confirmed, but I am 100% convinced that she is involved as part of Darkseid's family.
Yeah.
She was in London during the shooting of Justice League.
Yeah.
I believe there's a picture of her with Jason Momoa and some of the cast in a bar in England. And that's Sofia Boutella. So for those who don't know, she was the Mummy in the new Mummy remake with Tom Cruise. She was Gazelle in Kingsman: The Secret Service, and she's a phenomenal actress, beautiful. She was also in Star Trek Beyond. She was one of my favorite characters in that movie. I forget her name; it's just escaping me right now. But she was the alien, the all-white alien female with the black stripes on her face who'd been stranded there. Even though it's not 100% confirmed,
you think sure she plays Grail, Darkseid?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And I think Ramesh did do Ramesh or somebody did an art piece where she's standing in the background behind Darkseid as the League is looking through the boom tube, which is cool.
Yeah, I mean, you know, there could be any number of people there as well, because Zach said that he was standing there with his family. So we could have 3-4 people there, and they could all be added in with CG as well at any point. They didn't all necessarily have to be there on the same day, so there could be any number of characters there. I tend to agree with you. I hope it's true that we get Grail as well. I mean, what a squaring off that would have been, eh? You have the League on one side, and then you have Darkseid and all his family on the other side. That is that would have been incredible to see.
Oh, absolutely. And you know, what you just said, you know, Zach could have filmed people separately and inserted them in through, you know, post-production movie magic, because he just revealed to us that that's basically what he was going to do with Martian Manhunter. He had the storyboard, and I think he alluded that he filmed the scene, but he did not film at the time Harry Lennox's close-up.
Yeah, because I think they were shooting in London, so he probably couldn't make it to London at that period. So they probably had him penciled in for a pickup or something.
And he said, I was going to shoot him in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
Now, has he done that since May 2018? Is it May 2018, right? No, May 2017, sorry. Yeah. Between then and now, how hard is it to get Harry Lennox to come in a studio and just sort of turn around and look at the camera and
just stand in front of a green screen for 10 seconds.
Exactly. So,
Yeah.
so we don't know, but yeah, we're coming back to Darkseid. You know, we're getting a bit off on a tangent there, but yeah, that scoop that scoop alone got Release the Snyder Cut trending all over again.
Yep.
Right. Usually when we want to get it trending, we got to give ourselves a couple of days. You know,
Yep.
we sort of
get everyone prepared, hype it up.
Exactly. We hype the troops up and stuff like that. But yeah, you know, for that scoop, that was sort of something for everybody. You know, I didn't really care about getting any sort of recognition. For me, it was a film Exiles scoop, and you know, we have so many people fighting you know, within the fandom that, you know, at this point it's just like we're all here for the same goal.
Yep.
Let's get the Snyder Cut. Initially, people thought we were full of shit, and then I think maybe it was 2 or 3 days after we dropped the scoop, Zach posted on his Vero, yes, it's true, he's the man. And then all of a sudden, Ray had a Vero account. You know, his Twitter account went up a couple of thousand followers. So the moment Zach posted on Vero, this is factually correct.
Yeah.
It no longer was just a factoid.
It was fact, not factoid.
Exactly. And then Zach really started sort of giving us even more hope, showing us how much more involved Darkseid was in the film.
Yeah,
right?
He released some.
He's not.
He released some stills on
Vero,
Vero,
exactly.
and that's where we found out that he was in the history lesson.
The history lesson, and so we just got to figure out that, you know, Darkseid probably had a good, if I'm being generous, maybe 3 minutes of screen time, which is a lot more generous than, say, a 10-second shot of the League looking through a boom tube and him just sort of walking away, impressed but disappointed by Steppenwolf's.
Yeah. But we also have to remember that this film is nothing like the film that came out. So maybe the history lesson in the theatrical cut was 2-3 minutes, but in Zach's cut, it could have been like a whole prologue. Could have been a whole Lord of the Rings style intro, like
That's what
10 minutes. We don't know. We have no idea.
When the movie was coming out and they were piping the movie and this and everything, I was hoping for that history lesson to be exactly like a Lord of the Rings history lesson.
Yeah. Well, we'll find out, hopefully.
Oh, for sure.
Right, James, thank you for participating in this pod. Thank you for opening a window to possibilities, for finding out that information. There have been a lot of other scoops as well, from different areas of the fandom, and all are helpful. All shine a light on the film that we want to see. But I think it's safe to say what you did was quite incredible. Thank you for sharing it with everyone. And I know I speak for everyone in thanking you. And hopefully that we will see this film quite soon.
Absolutely. You know, it's my pleasure. And like I said, you know, the only thing I want, and it's the same thing that everybody here wants, is for the Snyder Cut to be released, right? And every single fan in the Snyder Cut fandom, you know, even if all they're doing is, you know, once in a while retweeting something that says Release the Snyder Cut, or they're putting out their own tweet that says Release the Snyder Cut, you know, everything everybody is doing is just helping, right? We're just laying down the bricks, one brick at a time, and any scoop from anybody, whether, you know, it's us or, you know, another news outlet or another fan, you all got to support each other, and we're going for the same end game, no pun intended, for the Snyder Cut to be released.
That's it.
And then the fight for the next two, the last two movies in Zach's plan. That's when the fight starts for those two.
That's it. Exactly. That's right.
Hashtag bring Zach back.
That's it. That's the next one.
All right.
Take care, man.
Take care. Thanks for having me.
The Darkseid scoop, that was something. And it also rolled over into the Desaad scoop as well. Reporter and Peter Guinness two incredible actors. If you know their work, if you know their background, they're character actors, but they're at the very top of their craft. And Reporter has been a big supporter of the movement, has been a big supporter of Zack Snyder, has been a big supporter of the physical participants and also the abstract concepts of all of it. And we're going to be introducing
a little surprise here.
A little surprise.
Take a little listen at this.
Hey, it's Ray Porter. I cannot believe the strength and the passion of this fandom. I am proud to be a part of it. You all are amazing, and the work you have done over this last year has been nothing short of astounding. Never, ever, ever give up your diligence, your passion for the fight, your care, and especially your kindness, which I have been so grateful for this past year. Exciting times right now. We'll see what happens, but no matter what, keep the passion, keep the kindness, and keep up the fight. Release the Snyder Cut.
And, wow. That was
all right, wasn't it?
That was pretty awesome, if you ask me. Pretty awesome, pretty impactful, and just the voices in this movement, just people of substance, people of honor, people of integrity, people who are high achievers at whatever it is they do with such passion. It's such a pleasure to, sort of, look back, all come together and celebrate this, even as we forge forward. So one of the big impacts of the movements.
Oh, the times they are a-changing.